Thanks for all of you for joining today. I just wanted to walk through some of the key points of the RFP that we released last month that's focused on rheumatoid arthritis and more specifically on optimizing the response to RA therapeutic agents. I'll just go through some, sort of main information about the RFP and then try to give you a little bit of context in terms of where, the sort of areas of focus and interest are in terms of the research. So just from a high level view, this is a relatively new program for the foundation that we launched in 2022 after convening a group of experts in the field to help the foundation identify unmet needs for people living with rheumatoid arthritis. And so after going through about a year-long process of discussion and landscape analysis, things like that, we landed in our first year in 2022 with a quite specific focus on providing a solution for non-responders to currently FDA-approved therapies for RA. And then now in 2023, with the release of this RFP, we've broadened that focus to really focus on optimizing the response to therapeutic agents. And again, we're focused on treatments that are currently approved for rheumatoid arthritis. So just some key points, key deadlines here. There is a letter of intent stage those are due on May 17th. And just a note, the letters of intent are not going to be scientifically reviewed. They will only be administratively reviewed, and all of those that meet the administrative criteria will be invited to submit a full application. And so we expect to notify everyone within about 2 weeks of submission of the letters of intent. And specific instructions for the letters of intent can be found in Proposal Central. And if you just log in and search for the Arthritis Foundation, you'll be able to access the application there. After notification, the full applications are due on July 19th, and the deadlines for all of these dates are at 11:59 p.m. Eastern. We'll be making the award announcements no later than November 15th, but I anticipate it will likely be contacting applicants in October, but no later than November 15th. And then the earliest project start date for these awards is January 1st of 2024. So we are offering 2 different award types this year. We're offering a pilot research award. And so these awards will be up to $150,000 over the course of 2 years, or $75,000 per year. And these projects really, the goal here is to submit something that has a novel hypothesis with no preliminary data requirements. It's sort of our higher risk, higher reward award mechanism. And the hope here is that this would be able to provide the applicant or awardee with data that they could then go on to submit for a larger proposal with NIH or DOD or something like that. We're then offering a large award, and this is a budget of up to $450,000 over 3 years, up to $150,000 per year. This award type does have a preliminary data requirement, so we do expect applications to, have some preliminary data to support the work that's being described. And just a note that we do have an indirect expense rate of 8% that can be included as part of that total budget. So it's not on top of the $450,000 or the $150,000, it would be part of that budget. In terms of eligibility criteria, I just wanted to go through this carefully. I apologize for those of you who might have looked at the RFP the day it was released. There was one mistake that was corrected, but just in case you had that version, I'll just flag that. So first and foremost, all applicants must be at an academic institution that's located in the US. For pilot awards, we are allowing people to apply that have a faculty appointment up to and including the rank of associate professor. We're also allowing clinical fellows and experienced postdocs. And the definition of clinical fellow in terms of sort of the year of when you complete the program and what an experienced postdoc is specifically spelled out in the eligibility criteria in the RFP. For the large awards, applicants must hold a faculty level position up to or including associate professor. And so the clinical fellows and postdocs are not allowed to apply for the large awards. They're not eligible, but these academic ranks are in terms of faculty level position. I also want to highlight, and this is in the RFP as well, that this faculty level position is inclusive of non-tenure track positions, such as instructor, research professor, research associate professor, those types of appointments. As long as it's an independent faculty appointment below the rank of full professor, you're eligible to apply. So that was the mistake, that in one line in the RFP, it did indicate full professors could apply, but that is not the case. Full professors are not eligible to apply for the awards. I also wanted to just flag that applicants can only submit one application per cycle. I don't know that that's specifically stated in the RFP, but we will not allow someone to put in a pilot award application and a large award application. We'd like you to choose one. But we will accept multiple applications from the same institution as long as the hypotheses and the work described are distinct. So now I'm going to shift focus and just talk a little bit more about the types of applications in terms of the overall scope that we're looking for with this RFP or hoping to see submitted. And so I just wanted to put this slide up because it states the overall strategy of our RA research program. And it's really to address the unmet needs of arthritis patients through research funding and collaboration with key stakeholders. And so we're both offering funding mechanisms, and then we're trying to build a community of RA researchers, which we do plan to convene in 2024 and then every other year going forward. So the focus I would anticipate of these applications should really be in the translational research and early clinical trial realm. We're really not looking for basic research proposals here or anything sort of further down the pipeline. In terms of areas of focus, when we say optimizing treatment, that can really mean a lot of different things. And these are some specific examples, but I would not say that the applications need fully, oh, sorry, that's going to be the next slide, the specific examples. These are sort of the larger areas of focus. So what we're really trying to do with this research mechanism is to better understand and improve treatment responses for people who are living with RA with the currently available medications. We strongly encourage the use of clinical samples or clinical data in the proposed research. We are not allowing animal studies as part of this work. We really do want this focused as much as possible on translational work, on analyzing patient samples, that sort of thing, moving things closer to the clinic. And really the long-term goal of this funding mechanism is to support research that will improve the lives of patients. That's really the focus of our foundation and the focus of this RFP. So these are some examples of areas of focus that I could see that applications would address, but it's certainly not a full list. So some things that we thought would be appropriate, and this is I'm saying this we as me and other staff at the Arthritis Foundation in the science department, as well as the Rheumatoid Arthritis Working Group that has helped us design this research program, would be identifying determinants of treatment response and non-response to currently approved therapies, developing predictive biomarkers of response, remission, flare, non-response, and de-escalation of currently approved therapies, uncovering underlying mechanisms of disease flare or remission, identifying novel therapeutic interventions And so for this one, it is a bit different than the others. We do invite applications that are looking for novel therapeutic interventions, and they could be standalone or they could be in conjunction with currently approved therapies. And then finally, uncovering social determinants of health and their association with response or lack of response to treatment in RA patients. And so this is not an exhaustive list, as I said, but these are a few areas where we are specifically soliciting applications. And then I did want to highlight, because the Arthritis Foundation is really very much focused on people living with arthritis, we strongly encourage the inclusion of patient advocates who are meaningfully engaged in your research project. And so they can be included as part of the research team. This is not a requirement, but we do, and it's not a scored review criteria, but this is just something that we do encourage. And so I think, I would encourage all of you to try and include patients as part of the research project. So a few other areas of focus, just to kind of give you a little bit more what we're thinking here and kind of questions that we are interested in seeing research address would be, responses. We know that responses to the currently approved medications can really vary quite widely among rheumatoid arthritis patients, and they can certainly change over the course of those individuals' lifetimes. And so we would want to understand why is that. We also are very interested in precision medicine and its application to rheumatoid arthritis. And so how can we use precision medicine to improve the lives of people living with RA? And then we are certainly interested in applications that would be combining clinical data with biological samples to really harness novel insights for impact on understanding responses to RA treatment. And I've said it many times, I think several times already, but I'll just emphasize that the patient impact of this work is really quite important in the applications. And so that will be something that will be, I think, looked at very carefully. So just going through the review criteria here, I just wanted to highlight that we have both scientific reviewers for these applications as well as stakeholder reviewers. And those stakeholder reviewers are often individuals who have RA or perhaps would be caretakers of somebody who has RA. And typically, we assign 2 scientific reviewers and 1 stakeholder reviewer to an application, and all of those reviewers' scores are weighted equally. The scored review criteria are available in the RFP, and these are the scientific review criteria, and they include significance, approach, protections for human subjects, inclusion of women, minorities, and individuals across the lifespan, originality, sort of a combined score for the PI, the scientific team, and the environment, as well as a study timeline, and that's for clinical trials only. And more specific details around these different review criteria can be found in the written RFP. So I wanted to go through just a few characteristics of successful applications, and this is really based more on the applications we received in response to the 2022 RFP. But I would say that the ones that were awarded, we made 4 awards last year, 2 pilot and 2 large awards, addressed important clinically relevant issues around non-response in RA. They were scientifically rigorous. Several of them had access to interesting and well-characterized clinical samples and cohorts and made use of them in the study. It wasn't necessarily that we were funding acquisition of new samples. In some cases that was true, but there were other instances where perhaps they were using samples that were part of a larger trial and doing some other analyses, and those were successful in this application process. And we would certainly encourage that. And then for those applications, and I think thinking about the applications that will be submitted this time, I think it's very important in that case to define non-response very clearly. And that would be true if you're addressing that issue in this RFP, but I would also say that if you are addressing flare or remission, again, that would need to be very clearly defined what your criteria are for that. These were a few of the issues that limited reviewer enthusiasm last year. And so I just thought they would be useful because I think they can be broadly applicable for the types of research we're expecting to receive here. So in some instances, we received applications that were requesting support for an already ongoing clinical trial, and that money would be used to support the enrollment of additional patients. This really isn't appropriate for this RFP. We are looking for not to be an add-on to an already existing trial. I think if you're asking a new question with samples that have been acquired as part of a trial, that's a different situation, but just adding more patients is not going to be viewed as responsive to this RFP. For clinical studies, I think some applications that didn't fare well really lacked a clear statistical plan, and the studies appeared to be underpowered, I would say, and/or. And so I think it's clear if you're going to propose that, this needs to be a strong part of the application. In some cases, people were using novel technologies or assays, and they were an important part of what was then going to, be sort of the questions that they wanted to answer. And I think, we're very encouraging of novel technologies, but I think it's important that if they're sort of extremely important to validating the results, those assays need to be validated. And there needs to be some evidence that they do indeed do what you say that they do in the application. Sometimes, the clinical application or the patient impact of the proposed work just wasn't very clear. It seemed like it was either not well described, or at least we couldn't see how it was going to impact patients in kind of a nearer term. And I'm talking about years to make an impact, but some of this work seemed like it might be more like decades. And then just sort of a poor overall fit with the RFP. And I think, last year it was quite a narrow focus. So that was more of an issue. So as I mentioned, another goal of this program is to build a community of RA researchers. And so there is sort of a little bit more interaction, I would guess, with the foundation than perhaps other funding mechanisms that might be available out there. We would expect our awardees to attend an in-person workshop next year in 2024. The dates aren't, we haven't landed on those yet, and we certainly understand that things come up, but we do want people to attend this workshop because we really want to create a community here and engage and look for ways for researchers that we fund to potentially collaborate and learn from one another. And then, of course, because we are the Arthritis Foundation, we certainly, when we have a lot of events, we definitely encourage participation in those events. Again, none of this is required, and none of this is obviously going to be scored or even addressed in your application, but it just is something to keep in mind should you be awarded one of these grants. We really do like our awardees to participate in both national and local level events when possible. So if you'd like to learn more, you can always contact me with specific questions. I'm going to open it up for Q&A, but if you really want to ask specific questions about whether or not your proposed research fits this RFP, that's something that would be better emailed to me, or even, a quick call. Or if you have very specific questions about eligibility criteria that's specific to you, again, that probably isn't appropriate to address on this call, but certainly just email me and I can get back to you. And then if you would like just more information about the RA research program, that can be found on our website. The URL is here, and this will be posted on our website afterwards. You can look for it. That also, you can find a list of last year's awardees and titles of their awards. And so you can get a sense of what we funded last year in case you think you would find that informative in terms of shaping your proposal this year. So I'm going to stop there, and please feel free to come off mute and ask a question or type a question in the chat. And I see it looks like we have one. So I'll just read it. For the eligibility criteria, are there any citizenship requirements? No, as long as you are eligible to work in the United States, that's fine with us.
Question about.
Oh, go ahead.
A quick one about portability. If we're at a career stage where we may be making moves to other institutions, that probably affects the scientific team and environment factors. Is it permitted under some circumstances?
Yes, we do really try to work with investigators to be able to move, the award to the new institution should they move during their award. I can't promise that because it's always sort of, the contract is made with the institution that, the applicant is currently at. And if there's some reason, I can't think of a good one right now, but the foundation really strives to move the money with the applicant or with the awardee whenever possible.
Thank you.
Let's see, I see another something in the chat. Let's see. No, a full professor cannot be part of the application. Oh, sorry. A full professor cannot be the applicant. A full professor can be part of the research team. That is fine. We don't have any requirements around the research team in terms of what career stage they're at. That's fine. It's just the applicant that needs to be at a rank below full professor. Is this solely focused on adult RA? What about JIA or arthritis-associated diseases, uveitis, lung disease, etc.? This really is focused around adult RA. We anticipate that in the future, we may have RFPs focused on adverse events or comorbidities with RA, but that isn't the focus this year. And in terms of JIA, we do not directly fund JIA research or JA research at the Arthritis Foundation. We do that in partnership with CARA through their funding mechanisms at this time. Any other questions? Would mentors be included as part of the study team? And if so, are there budgetary guidelines requiring or not allowing their effort? So the mentors for the clinical fellows and postdoctoral fellows that are potential applicants, there is a mentorship requirement that's described in the RFP. Mentors do not have to be part of the study team. They can solely be in a mentorship role, and there are not any budgetary requirements around that. They do not have to have any salary. If salary is required for that, I think that can be considered. But if the mentor is also involved in the research itself, that's fine too. And they can be part of the study team. And then I think it would be appropriate to include, salary if needed. Any other questions? Okay, well, if there's no more questions, thank you all for attending. And like I said, if you have any more specific eligibility or proposal fit questions, just please reach out and I'm happy to answer those. Oh, wait, I see. Is the budget renewable? Well, I think I can answer, is the award renewable? No, the awards are not renewable because we are going to be changing the focus of our research, our RFPs each year. And so this isn't a renewable award. It's just for either the 2 years for the pilot or 3 years for the large award.
I think in the chat, Rose had a question about mentors on the study team and budgetary guidelines.
Oh, I thought I had answered that.
Oh,
so
sorry.
Allowed on the study team, or they don't have to be. I think it's up to you, and you can budget appropriately part of the study team or not. Okay, I think that's it. Well, thanks so much. I really appreciate you coming and hope to see some applications come in.